the mandatory vaccine push, it's evil, okay? It's not only un-American, it's absolutely just totally and completely unconstitutional, and it's inhumane. Something like this has never happened before, and we're going to be seeing a lot of those events in our lifetime, Andrew. This has never happened before in America.
Yeah.
And we're going to be covering the whole time, I believe. I want to teach you something. This is really important. I want to teach you something regarding constitutional law that is incredibly important for you to understand. So I'm going to go ahead and put this on the screen. Read along with me. This is so important. The constitutional law regarding states' use of police powers to protect public health and safety is well established. Any infringement by government on a fundamental right is subject to strict scrutiny, which chiefly incorporates two concepts: that in such cases, the government's interest must be compelling or necessary, and it must be accomplished by the least restrictive means. So, for them to mandate vaccines through the use of police powers to protect public health and safety, it has to be just lasered in on in such such scrutiny, with such detail. It has to be compelling and it has to be necessary for them to overreach such types of power. I mean, that's essentially martial law.
Yeah.
And it has to be by the least restrictive means. So here's the thing. So under this standard, the court presumes the policy to be invalid unless the government can demonstrate a compelling interest to justify the policy. So this is how it can be, it's constitutional. To override such clear boundaries, the only way they can still be operating within their constitutional right to go so far as to go door to door and force people to take vaccines through police type of force, which the government can do if they can develop such a compelling and necessary example.
Yeah.
This test applies even when the government has legitimate purpose in adopting the particular law. All right. With that being said, I need to throw out this disclaimer, because whether you are pro-vax or anti-vax, it does not matter at all. Even if these vaccines, the COVID-19 vaccines, were totally safe and totally effective, which I do not believe they are. But even if you are of the camp that they are totally safe, totally effective, to do what I am talking about doing would still be unconstitutional. It would be unconstitutional to mandate that people would take it for something like COVID-19. You cannot create a compelling state interest. You cannot argue it in any such fashion that doing this would be necessary and constitutional. Now, horrible pandemics worthy of it being compelling? Sure, we have had those in the past. For example, maybe like Ebola, right? With a 90% death rate. You know, if that was absolutely sweeping through the United States, could I say, you know what? Maybe they should take police for this. Would be absolutely compelling. 90% death rate. My gosh, with 300 million Americans, 270 million of them gone?
Yeah.
You know what? Yeah, I would say that's pretty compelling.
Yeah.
Right? Ebola? Sure. Yeah, I can see it. Spanish flu of 1918? Sure. I could see it. A quarter of the world was infected with the great influenza, the Spanish flu of 1918. A quarter of the world, now you remember the population was very, very much smaller, the global population. And over 100 million people died in 1918 from that. So could you constrain compelling state necessary? Sure, constitutionally, I can see it.
Yeah.
Yeah. The bubonic plague, Right? I mean, that's a bubonic plague.
Yeah.
Talk about the pestilence that literally devastated Europe and Asia in the 14th century. It literally killed as many as 125 million people globally. Oh, so 25 million more than the 1918 influenza. Well, in the 14th century, the global population was 500 million. So it literally, not getting close to, or not, this is not sensational, this is not an exaggeration, it literally killed 25% of all of the world. So yeah, you know what, I could see a compelling state interest. I could see it being necessary for the use of police powers to protect public health and safety. Yeah, I think that would pass the test of even the most strictest scrutiny. Yes, I think so. But not for COVID. The COVID death rate, 0 to 19, 0.003 fatality, or 99.997 survivability. 20 to 49, 0.02 fatality, or 99.98 survivability. 50 to 59, 0.5% fatality, or 99.5% survivability. And even if you're 70 plus, it's still 6.4%. Ebola, 90%. 6.4% fatality, or 94.6 survivability, right? Get your vaccine, people. People are literally out there dying by the 0.001s.
Yeah.
So will they force it? I just built a case to explain to you how Joe Biden is saying that they want to send government workers. Other counties and other states are already sending county-approved workers, door to door. But Joe Biden is talking about wanting to send government appointees to your door and wanting to vaccinate you. And I just clearly showed you how that is absolutely unconstitutional. You cannot do that. It does not pass the tests. So will they still do it? Likely. Why do I say that? Because look at what the states have already done to so many of us already in the last year without creating a compelling argument. There is no question that restricting travel, restricting speech, assembly, whether it be at your church or a coffee shop, all of those impact a fundamental constitutional liberty, yet they did every single one. That's where we're at.